We have two tasks on this earth. The first is to learn. The second is to face, in a bygone era, a man who occupied the pinnacle of power in the world, known as Marcus Aurelius. He ventured on a path of virtue following the complex principles of Stoicism. Unlike many of the Roman emperors of his time, he resisted the temptations that power offered, such as drinking fine wines, lying with the most beautiful women in the empire, and enjoying the sadistic spectacles of the Colosseum. Marcus Aurelius had a deep desire to fulfill the purpose that fate had reserved for him, to serve humanity. To achieve this, he had to divert his attention away from elements that did not deserve his consideration. Believe me, there were many such elements. His desire to fulfill the purpose that destiny had reserved for him, namely to serve humanity, constantly guided him. To achieve this noble goal, he had to divert his attention from those elements that not only did not contribute to his purpose, but would even drag him away from his path of virtue into a world full of harlots and seductive spectacles. Marcus Aurelius stood firm in his Stoic ideals, striving to make conscious choices and learning to direct time, mind, and energy. We should therefore isolate ourselves from the world and completely renounce vices. The Stoics teach that we should adopt a moderate path, avoiding excesses and practicing self-control. We need not isolate ourselves completely from the world, but rather discern what is truly important and pursue it in moderation, maintaining a balance between pleasure and virtue for a meaningful life. One can give in to vices and pleasures while maintaining control over them and without abusing them. Not to do so is to create a superfluous load that oppresses us and harms us psychologically. You do not have to get upset about things that happen that are beyond your control. For Marcus Aurelius, not getting upset allowed him to deal with the countless responsibilities and challenges that the office of emperor entailed. He could concentrate on the task he believed had been divinely entrusted to him. For Epictetus, this freedom was what gave life meaning. For others, the ability to not be influenced by external forces could be a path to truly meaningful goals. In the end, for some, this philosophy simply offered the way to a happy and carefree life in the face of life's adversities. We should ask ourselves what things do not deserve our appreciation and how we can stop worrying about them. This video is a free exploration and interpretation of Marcus Aurelius' philosophy, an invitation to divert our attention from what does not deserve appreciation. In the meditations of this remarkable thinker, we find a clear distinction between the present, the past, and the future. In each of these categories, the ancient Roman emperor shares wisdom and valuable reflections on how we attach too much to them in the wrong way or to inappropriate elements. For better organization, let us divide this video into these categories, starting with the future. As Seneca wisely stated, we suffer much more in our imagination than in the reality of our lives, which implies that our thoughts about the future often trigger our suffering. When it comes to the future, our imagination tends to wander uncontrolled, creating many hypothetical scenarios that, in most cases, never come true. We anticipate countless ways of dealing with possible outcomes while trembling in the face of the uncertainty that the future inevitably holds. In some cases, what happens is what we anticipate. But in many other cases, fate surprises us by overloading us with events we could not have foreseen, whether better or worse. For example, We may have spent years preparing for a well-deserved retirement that never happened, or we may receive a diagnosis of a fatal illness that gives us only a few months to live. The possibility of such events often leads us to worry constantly. The best can happen, but so can the worst. What if World War III breaks out? What if I lose all my money? These adverse outcomes are possible, but as long as they are not occurring in the present, we cannot deal with them, because these events are simply not happening. They only exist in our thoughts. The future only worries us because we think about it, because it does not exist outside our mind. And if you happen to be afflicted with this deadly disease, what is stopping you from living today and enjoying every second of your precious life? Stand up. Hold your head high. No matter what you are facing in your life, be it something minimal or something extremely big, put on your best clothes, your best shoes, and go live moments that will be remembered by you even after death. Aurelius wrote that it is not the burden of the future that weighs on us, but only that of the present. It is not the future that hurts us, but how we deal with it in the present. The misery of the future happens in the present, and ironically, the future is not happening in the present because when we encounter it, it is already present. The misery of the future is worrying in the present. When we worry too much about life, it inevitably begins to hurt because we suffer it in our imagination, allowing it to dictate our present. So, what did Marcus Aurelius say about worrying too much about the future? First of all, consider the following quote: "Never let the future disturb you. You will face it, if necessary, with the same reasons that equip you against the present. Managing the present may also manage the future." He told himself not to imagine everything terrible that might happen, but to deal with the situation he was experiencing in the present. When he concentrated on the present, he realized that he could handle it. And if that were the case, why would he not be able to cope with what was yet to come? This attitude resembles the idea of amor fati, love of fate, but reinforced by the confidence that we will be able to overcome it. The past, for Marcus Aurelius, was a reminder to himself of how existence flows quickly and fades into infinity beyond our reach. The past, like the future, is a domain in which we cannot operate. What has been, and unless we invent a time machine, we cannot change it. Remember that man lives only in the present. In this fleeting instant, all the rest of his life is past and gone, or not yet revealed. So short is man's life, so narrow is the song of the earth in which he dwells, despite the narrowness of our lives that take place only in the present moment. We are often overly occupied with those territories that lie outside the present and cannot be reached, namely the future and the past. Marcus Aurelius stated that the past has no meaning and is indifferent in the present. It is not that past events do not influence the present or that we cannot learn from past events. It is just that we cannot operate on the past because it is beyond our reach, and often our memories of the past are confused, and the ways to verify what really happened are limited. We rely on memories from personal perspectives and different points of view, both our own and those of others. Therefore, the past is not only unreachable, but our memory of it is also most likely inaccurate. Nevertheless, we continue to worry about past events, often repeating them in our minds and reliving the pain they caused us. Some believe that by thinking about the past, we can have some control over it. But this is an illusion. The past is past, and all we try to control are our thoughts about something that is already gone and will never return. I wish I could have done it differently, many people say, but wishing for the impossible cannot lead to anything positive. Instead of focusing on the past events themselves, Marcus Aurelius focused on his reaction to them. We cannot control past events. Most probably, we could not even when they happened in the present. But we can control how we position ourselves in relation to these events. Initially, we may view the past as a misfortune. We may have had a difficult childhood, experiences of friendships that came to an end, or failed business ventures. But according to Marco, the nature of these events is not so important. What matters is how we deal with them. He said that it is unfortunate that this happened. No, it is fortunate that this happened, and I came out of it unscathed, not devastated by the present, nor afraid of the future. This could have happened to anyone, but not everyone could have come out unscathed. Why treat the former as a misfortune and not the latter as a fortune? Can you really call misfortune something that does not violate human nature? Or do you believe that something that does not go against nature's will can violate it? But do you know what its will is? What has happened prevents you from acting with justice, generosity, self-control, sanity, prudence, honesty, humility, frankness, and all the other qualities that allow a person's nature to fulfill itself in an interesting way. Marcus Aurelius did not completely discard the value of the past. He believed that we can learn from the past, observing its rhythm, how things follow one another and repeat themselves so that we can extrapolate the future. Marcus Aurelius frequently mentioned that the present moment is all we have. It is the narrow field to which we have access. From the present, we can look into the infinite abyss of the past and the impenetrable darkness of the future. Marcus Aurelius encourages you to focus on what is within your control, the present moment. But even when we abandon the past and reduce our worries about the future, we can still give too much importance to things that are not worth worrying about, the things that are happening right now. We are often dissatisfied with the way life is unfolding at the moment, and when things do not go as we wish, we tend to become angry, sad, or depressed. But according to Marcus Aurelius, being emotionally disturbed by what the present brings us is pointless. Life around us unfolds. It is not in our hands, but how we react to it is. However, we tend to become disturbed because we do not like what is happening, or because what we wish to happen does not come true. Marcus Aurelius argued that we should not fight against what we are forced to do. He compared people who fight against the present to pigs who manifest and scream when they are sacrificed. It is useless because we cannot avoid it or know what the future has in store for us. We cannot prevent people from wanting to fight in wars. We cannot prevent natural disasters from happening. We cannot prevent growing old. Similarly, we cannot force the world to conform to our desires. We cannot guarantee that the people for whom we feel attraction feel the same way about us. Nor can we be certain that all human beings have the same opportunities in life. This is simply not possible. We become angry because we do not get what we want, and sad because we are faced with what we do not like. And so the present moment becomes a torture chamber in which we suffer at the mercy of the future. Or conversely, we are so fascinated by the present moment that we cling to it. We are afraid of losing what we have, so once again we allow the future to control us. But with our total involvement in everything around us, transient and uncontrollable, we often fail to see what is really under our control: our choices, our actions, and our opinions. Marcus Aurelius saw the law of nature as our teacher. If we run away or feel sadness or anger towards it, we are but deserters and fugitives. We must accept the ways of nature, embrace them, and focus on how to deal with them instead of wasting our energy being discontented or attached to our circumstances. One way to accept the present, as he wrote in the 7th book of his Meditations, is to consider what we have, not what we lack. But with caution, treat what you do not have as non-existent. Look at what you have, the things you value most, and reflect on how much you would want them if you did not have them. But be careful, don't feel so satisfied that you start to overestimate yourself. In this way, he argues that it is an opportunity to practice virtue, or, in other words, apply Stoic philosophy to our lives. The art of living is not about how incredible and fortunate our circumstances are, for they are unreliable, fragile, fickle, and do not belong to us. It is about how we deal with the events we encounter. This is what we should attach importance to. Cling to this concept. Do your best to live in the present. Live your life the best way you can, regardless of your physical, emotional, financial, or any other situation. Try to start the change from something that is within your reach. Start simply. Don't look to others. Don't look to the future. Don't look to the past. Look at what is in front of you and simply start. I hope you can achieve the positive results you so desire for your life. Remember that your motivation may even fade at some point, but persevere and maintain your perseverance in everything you do. Thank you for watching the video so far. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.